some VC will end up investing in Cardano projects, not because it's Cardano, it's because he trusts his founder. He thinks it's an interesting product. Oh, it's Cardano, but I don't know about Cardano, but maybe I take a look. Oh, $400 million TVL, like 5x growth. It doesn't look, bad. I didn't know that, and this guy looks solid, so I may just put money in. That's how we direct capital into the Cardano ecosystem.
This interview session, we'll be looking into proposals for Fund 11 to put together a series of developer workshops, boot camps, seminars, and hackathons, and with future incubation with Genius X and Waffle Capital. This is all pretty exciting. The team putting this proposal together include Gimbal Labs, Sindan Labs, Genius X, and Waffle Capital. And we have representatives here. We have Hyson Wong from Gimbal Labs, Jason Gao from Genius X, and Yuri Borona, CEO and head advisor of Waffle Capital. Welcome, gentlemen, to the podcast.
Thank you for having us, Pete.
Hello.
Now, let's learn a little bit about you guys for those that don't know. Could we get a quick introduction and overview of the companies that you represent? How about we start with you first, Hinson?
Yeah, actually, today I'm here representing both Gimbal Labs and also Sindan Labs. So Gimbal Labs is more of a community that inside Cardano is more of a developer communities. And we get well known for the educational materials that we provided to the communities, particularly the Plutus project-based learning. We also call PPBL. So in this proposal, Gimbal Labs will be taking part into the content creation about the educational materials and the courses and the deliveries. And another part of myself is actually Sindan Labs. Sindan Lab is a consultancy that based Hong Kong. We have a team of engineers that we kind of the expert in building in Cardano and also amongst other technical solutions. So the role of Sindan Labs in this proposal is more with the Waffle Capital to do the execution part, the dirty work organization of different venues and also people and some of the logistic, those kind of stuff.
And Jason, could you get can we get a little introduction of yourself and Genius X?
Sure. So I'm Jason. I'm here representing Genius X. So we're a Cardano-focused venture accelerator and launchpad. And we were launched by the same founders team that also built Genius Yield, which is a quite innovative order book-based DEX that was recently launched. And so our vision and goal is really to accelerate the Cardano venture ecosystem by bringing more projects or even from developer stage into interesting, live products for the community. We currently work with about 15 projects, and we're in the process of discussing with more. That includes several of the well-known projects like Maestro, like Fluid Tokens, ZK Fold, and etc. So very happy to be here with you, Pete, to talk about the proposal that we submitted together with Gimbal Labs, Sindan Labs, and Waffle Capital.
And yourself, Yuri, can we get a little introduction and a little bit about Waffle Capital as well?
Yeah, sure. Hi, so I'm Yuri and I'm the CEO of Waffle Capital. What we do is we are a Cardano DeFi yield farming focused fund based out of Hong Kong. And our job is basically to go around and tell people that Cardano is this amazing opportunity and that the DeFi, and that the DeFi environment is new and basically virgin and up for grab. So that's what we do. We provide the bloodstream and yield farm and all sorts of strategies on Cardano exclusively.
Thank you guys for that introduction. Now, with this proposal, it's all concentrated around Hong Kong. Now, it's kind of obvious you guys are based in the region, so it makes sense. But why Hong Kong?
Sure. So just to give you an idea, for people who are not necessarily familiar, Hong Kong is one of the, it's probably the third in the four largest financial hubs in the world. So it being New York, London, and then you often have Singapore and Hong Kong competing in Asia. Hong Kong is usually the larger one. So what you have here is a lot of talent. People are sort of financially educated. People are international. It's a city that speaks English. It is the gateway to China and also for Southeast Asia. A lot of money flows through Hong Kong. And so all that to say that Hong Kong needs to be represented on the map for Cardano. It is very important. I really respect the Africa sort of the direction, but you also need to bring in the money essentially and the talents, right, that already exist in the field. And so Hong Kong is really important in that sense. I could not stress it enough. When it comes to also Southeast Asia, Hong Kong serves a lot of the Southeast Asian market. It's a little bit more on Singapore's side, but to have Cardano without Hong Kong's participation, you essentially would be cutting off one of the four largest center and also most of mainland China these days, because this is the only place in the People's Republic of China where we're allowed to do what we do, and so any sort of funds that need to go into the space from China will have to go through Hong Kong.
I always wondered about that, like how the money ins and outflows through China really happen in terms of external investment from overseas companies and stuff. So it does have to flow through Hong Kong.
80% of Chinese foreign direct investment goes through Hong Kong. And similarly, 80% of the money coming out of China is done through Hong Kong. And the reason being the history with UK common law. So they call it one country, two system, where Hong Kong is its separate little thing legally. And we have our own currency, and we have our own laws and a banking system, which is obviously not the same as mainland China. Hong Kong, alongside Singapore, is ranked always number one, number two in the ease of doing business index, and is always, with Singapore, considered the most capitalist places on earth. So, I mean, some people might not like to hear that, but this is the truth of the matter. So, just to give you a comparison quickly, Singapore has 13 billionaires. Hong Kong has 55. And the final thing I'll say is that one person in Hong Kong one out of seven, is a millionaire. So when you talk about finance and the role that Hong Kong plays with the region and where it's located, it's really important.
Right. Okay. Maybe I should just move to Hong Kong and I'll magically turn into a millionaire.
Well, the taxation is also the taxation is extremely Hinson. Taxation is extremely advantageous, and in fact, you see a lot of videos on YouTube where people give you advice of places to move to, before you sort of cash out some of your crypto gains. In Hong Kong, we don't even ask ourselves that question. That tax we pay is zero. So yes, definitely. One of the negative sides is very expensive real estate, more than London, more than New York. So if you can do that, then welcome in Hong Kong. It's a tough place. Yeah.
I just want to add one comment, is that I could testify that what you has just mentioned is 100% correct, because prior to myself switching my career into software engineering, I'm actually a corporate banking relationship manager. So most of the clients I'm the one that handling the money flow. I saw a lot of coming in and going out, those kind of things. So there are huge opportunities in Hong Kong in terms of financially and also in terms of the talent side.
I'll also add a final thing, which is that Hong Kong is 7 million people, but it's on a small territory. And even though it's a big city, it's also a village in some sense. And so when you have community and word to mouth and sort of gathering, things can escalate and flourish very quickly. It's not a place it's not as big as New York City or London, where, you kind of have people doing their own things. In Hong Kong, everyone knows someone who knows someone, right? So when you get your word to mouth out of there and you create, you invest in community, things can go all the way high up very quickly, because next to you may have a billionaire who's just having lunch and you don't even know, but next thing you know, he's overhearing. And it's one of those places where that kind of mingling happens all the time.
Super interesting. Okay. So what are the other ecosystems and blockchains doing in Hong Kong in comparison? Like, obviously Cardano is doing nothing at the moment, hence you guys are trying to push for it. But what's the Ethereum Foundation doing? What's Ethereum doing? What's Solana doing at the moment?
Yeah, maybe I could take that question as a start, because I'm personally tracking a lot of this other ecosystem and what they have been doing. And even I advise some of the, the projects from the other ecosystem with a lot of things that are happening in Asia. So I think in my observation, so first, I think obviously a lot of them are doing something in Hong Kong for very obvious reasons that you already mentioned a lot. But I think if I could add a little bit more, number one, the regulation is very friendly in Hong Kong. So that basically allows for all this huge amount of Chinese developers and Chinese crypto people to basically try to do something in Hong Kong. and it also controls a lot of capital. So I think when you look at that, the crypto VC funds, obviously, most of them, a majority of the capital are still in the US. But if you look at the second largest regions, obviously it's in Asia. So, and there's a lot of money either from China or maybe from Korea or from Southeast Asia. They all kind of gather together in Hong Kong and Singapore. And there are a number of like big and OG funds in crypto space in Hong Kong, like Hashkey, like Newman Capital, SNZ, Hashed, and Dragonfly. And there's a number of ones like big. They're managing like multi-hundred million dollars, if not $1 billion. And plus, they're being added by those traditional Web2 funds, US dollar funds that are used to invest a lot in Chinese internet, like 20 years ago to 10 years ago, like IDG, Sequoia China, and the GSR. There's so many of them, and so they're all now trying to allocate money into the crypto space, and they're choosing Hong Kong as the hub to basically run that. So I think it's important that we, a lot of foundations are targeting Hong Kong because number one, you get access to a lot of capital, and number two, you get access to a lot of developers, because China, like Greater China, if we also try to include Southeast Asia as well, it's a super developer-rich market for blockchain industry. It's just like the US. And but I think more importantly, it's not just developers, it's developers who can actually get access to capital to turn their code into product, into a successful ventures. We could say also, I mean, Africa, Morocco, and this kind of places are very developer rich. There are so many people there, and people are, you can train them with development and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, these are not the capital intensive market. So a lot of people put their code on smart contract and try to build a prototype, but it would be very difficult for them to raise capital in those regions. So that's why we should be targeting Hong Kong. And back to the real question to me, I think you can name Solana, Avalanche, Ethereum, Ton, and I think Aptos, everyone is setting up hubs there and doing a lot of things. And I think the common thing they're doing is basically to have people on the ground. So that's the first important steps. And I think all of the ones that I mentioned hired someone on the ground in Hong Kong, or maybe in very nearby places like maybe Taiwan. I know there's a big team for Avalanche in Taiwan, but basically for everybody else, they have team on the ground in Hong Kong, basically running, especially the Chinese-speaking community, which counting Hong Kong, China, Taiwan, Singapore, part of Malaysia as well. So that's very important because you have to build community there, and you have to start talking about your ecosystem, and over again under the local culture in the local language. And number two, there's also, I think there are more innovative ways I see what other foundations are doing. For instance, Definity Foundation, which is backing the ICP blockchain, they're actually setting up hubs in Hong Kong. So basically they hire independent entrepreneurs, Web3 entrepreneurs, to manage the community on the ground for the foundations. And they're going to do a lot of hackathons and educations, and they're joining events here and there, keeps talking about ICP over and over again. So that's the way that eventually will work. And I think hackathon or acceleration incubation is also something that a lot of foundations are doing. Solana is doing hackathon, is doing incubation, Avalanche doing the same, Ton, basically the blockchain from the Telegram projects team, and a lot of others, and let alone Ethereum, because I think Ethereum is very well known. The foundation doesn't really need to do a lot of BD work because all the local VCs or accelerators will try to actually be the host of Ethereum hackathon, developer houses, that kind of events. For instance, last year, Newman Capital, which is a very recognized crypto VC in Hong Kong, they actually organized the ETH Hong Kong, I think in September or October last year, around the Hong Kong FinTech Week. And everybody joined, and the huge community. So there's a lot of things happening. And all the foundations are basically doing something in Hong Kong, basically for targeting the developers from the Greater China or even the broader Asia region, and for them to come to Hong Kong to build some projects and ventures, and then get access to the capital that are very rich in the region as well, and to eventually turn their code into something meaningful, become reputable, and then basically and help the foundation or help the ecosystem to get popular in the region as well.
Yeah, maybe I could supplement a bit from the developer point of view or a lower level point of view, because Jason gave a very good high level feel on how the ecosystem is like. I kind of inside the startup ecosystem in Hong Kong and talk to a lot of different other crypto developers. Basically, for a lot of them, they're not even aware of Cardano. But when we talk about developing let's say a dApps, a crypto dApps, they will think about Ethereum, Polygon, or Solana's. When I asked about why, the most common response is that because of the price of Solana goes up a lot, so that they got awareness on that. But apart from that, for the second popular answer from the kind of my fellows is actually because Solana has put some resources into hosting some developer workshops annually and for free for everyone. So that when they got just interested in building any crypto dApps, they just go into the events, the hackathons, or the workshops, and they learned about the ecosystem, and then just gradually become one of the developers inside the ecosystem. So I think there's a huge problem in Hong Kong for Cardano is that we are kind of lack of awareness. Just people in general didn't heard of that. When they try to build a dApp, they think of a kind of maybe a real world problem that could be solved by blockchain. For most of the time, they are chain agnostics at the very beginnings. They kind of have their options in front of them, like the mostly aware option like Ethereum, Polygon, or Solana's, and they just handpick one of them, which is a more handy one. So I think for our role here, one of the targets is also try to put Cardano into that option list. Just when they think about building a serious stuff for the ecosystem or for the blockchain or for anything, we want to make Cardano to be one of the options, because every blockchain got different characteristics and be good for different things. So we want to try to just educate the general awareness of the people as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, that totally makes sense. I find a lot of developers are chain agnostic, and all they want is to be able to download a library, some resources, pre-made smart contracts that hopefully are audited, and then just build the dApp for the client, and then rocket and go to the moon. So that's the general process for a lot of these developers. And I do find a lot of them, like I said, are chain agnostic until they win a hackathon, and then they're all in on something. So, and I've been to a lot of hackathons here in Australia in the Web2 space, and I have to say they are quite inspiring, especially when you see some of these teams like scrap together some really cool application within a 24-hour period, and then win a massive prize pool, and then get funding from VC, and then have their idea taken to the next level. So that's really exciting, and I would love to see that happen for the Cardano ecosystem in Hong Kong as well. So is the Cardano Foundation involved in any way in the Hong Kong, Southeast Asia space?
I think we have several angles trying to work with Cardano Foundation. From my side, I'm trying to apply as a Cardano ambassadors to kind of representing Cardano, this brand in general, to talk about Cardano in Hong Kong. And we have also, actually the Cardano Foundation is one of the party that we are asking for a sponsorship on these kind of things. And we are also talking to Intersect and BO to try to experimenting the whole thing. But as you know, Cardano Foundation is a large entity, so it might take time for us to really try to communicate or talk to different people before we're reaching out any final conclusion on any things. But Cardano Foundation is, we want them to be involved actually. But it takes time. The process takes time.
In fact, I tried to, I lobbied a little bit to try and get the next summit to take place in Hong Kong, but I don't think successfully. I perhaps didn't try hard enough, but it might be somewhere else, it seems.
I think the structure of the official stakers in Cardano is a little bit confusing to a lot of people outside, because usually there's only one foundation that does everything. But I think our Cardano Foundation, according to them, it's not really assuming a lot of funding related support, and which they usually refer to Emergol, which is actually doing a lot of funding related stuff. But I think as a brand name, Cardano Foundation is very significant. So I think one strategy we have is to try to collaborate with them to help with branding and marketing for the activities. Because whatever you do, if you bring the Cardano Foundation names in the events and stuff you do, it's gonna be taken seriously by the local community. So I think that's something probably Cardano Foundation will try to help us, and which we would appreciate. And I think Emergo will try to work with them, but obviously I think their priorities is on Africa and that kind of stuff. We're not really sure about their agenda in the Asian market, although they have a team I think based in Singapore. But we'll try to continue to work with them on that. But I think other than that, we don't see any other official, I would say, stakeholders having been trying to do anything here. So, but we would really appreciate any support from any of them.
I could see this having a massive amount of impact in the region. So what do you guys have to do to make that happen? What do we have to produce in terms of making all those workshops, hackathons, or whatever happen in the space there?
Yeah. So actually, in terms of the real work that we are going to do in this Fund 11 proposal, we'll have a couple of different components. So for the first component is about education. We would try to teach our kind of the fellows or the students or anyone who love to join the developer series to learn about Cardano. So on this, Kimber Labs will be the kind of the arms to actually to produce the contents. Like actually in just concurrently to what to our discussion here, Kimber Lab is going to produce the 2024 Mesh PPL and also Prudence PPL. So for the Mesh PPL, it's about using Mesh to build the off-chain code, and it's a project-based learning. And also the PPBL itself is teach the students how to write smart contracts. And for both of the component, it will cover most of the necessary knowledge that everyone would need to build on Cardano. And what's the lovely part is that we have kind of has been in the process of like 2 years to figure out what is the most effective way to write smart contract and deploy it up on Cardano. And our fellow student would not have to go through that part again because we are kind of, Kimber Lab is a ecosystem that we consolidated a lot of know-how. Maybe inside Mesh back in the time, like 1 year ago or 2 years ago, when I would like to write the off-chain code for one of my dApps, I may have to spend several months. But with the latest features offered by Mesh, literally it's just spend 1 or 2 days. There's a huge productivity enhance. And in our education session, we would like to teach these to the students so that we want to, right after the conceptual process, they will just have to spend a little time just to get on-ramp on the Cardano development. So this is the education part. So after the core education, we will have several seminars, and the core part of it will be the business seminars that will be mostly organized by Genius X. They will have the industry expert to talk about the tokenomics and also legal sides or any other business sides. There will be the business seminars. And then apart from that, we will also invite some of the most successful projects inside the ecosystem. It's just literally just 2 hours ago, we have kind of talked to MinSwap that they are lovely to join us to be one of the sessions to share their developer experience and also what's MinSwap about and how it's overall dApps, how they build the whole things and so forth. And then at the end of it, after the education, business seminar, and some of the successful experience sharing, there will be our hackathon. We will invite our students to form a group with other developers within or without or outside of our developer series to try to ideate on some of the potential problem that they could solve using Cardano, test that, and they will form a group and build a prototype and then present to our panelists. So currently we have Waffle Capital and Genius X, and we will also invite some more, maybe some local university professors or other VCs to sit on the panels. For some of the successful projects or promising project teams, there'll be some fresh capital invested into them, and then they could start building on Cardano. So we are trying to build a whole pipeline on the developer and project onboarding. And hopefully after all of these, we could document everything and then package everything into one blueprint, so that let's say in the futures, Indonesia or Vietnam, they would like to do the same. We just offer the same blueprint to the local executors so that they could execute the whole thing to try to spin up different local community in different regions. So this is a kind of the actual work that we are planning to do, and we have pretty much all of the necessary resources are live right now.
Yeah, if I could just add a little bit of information on the channel perspective, just to show we do have a lot of concrete stuff in the plan. I think Hinson just mentioned all the contents, and again, I think it will be organized by all of the parties. And for Genius X, we could contribute a lot of resource as well. For instance, our CTO, Dr. Lars Brunes, he basically teaches Bluetooth development at IOG, so we could get him as a natural contributor to this as well. I'm sure he'll be very happy to take that. But in terms of the channel, I think we do have contents, but how we onboard new developers and how we try to create more resources for them at the end of the day, I think that's also very important. So we also have very concrete in our plan. In terms of the channel or onboarding channel, we have a lot of local partners lined up actually. So for instance, we have OXU, which is a local Web3 community, by all the top universities of Hong Kong. So we're well connected with their management team, and they're happy to support. We also have a partnership lined up with the Blockchain Academy, which is basically a organization officially sponsored by several of the top universities, not just the students. So they're run by the student representative, but basically they will get us access to all the basically developers and even like university students with a relevant background and majors in Hong Kong and even the Greater China, because I think they're building their own channels in China, in mainland China, in Taiwan, and all these nearby regions as well. Just give you one example that Binance actually worked with them in one of the hackathon stuff, in which Binance did literally nothing other than just resharing on Twitter what they're doing. But basically, Blockchain Academy and OXU helped them to onboard immediately like 1,000 developers. And I think out of that, 300-400 end up finishing the courses and deploying smart contract on the BNB chain. So why not doing the same with Cardano, right? But at the end of the day, we're also so we have a very good connection with many VCs in Hong Kong. They will not put money in Cardano projects today simply because they have no knowledge about it at all. But if you invite them to join hackathons, accelerators, incubators, that kind of thing as mentors, just to share their knowledges and look important in front of these young developers, that's something they're very happy to do. So they will join and they'll just talk about stuff, but that's a way for us to engage them effectively into Cardano, right? And that will create a first direct connection between the next generation of Cardano project founders with the local VCs. And they might build, personal relationship in Hong Kong. They'll have dinner, they'll have like coffee all the time. And then at the end of the day, some VC will end up investing in Cardano projects, not because it's Cardano, it's because he trusts this founder. He thinks it's an interesting product. Oh, it's Cardano, but I mean, I don't know about Cardano, but maybe I take a look. Oh, $400 million TVL, like 5x growth. It doesn't look, bad. I didn't know that, and this guy looks solid, so I may just put money in. That's how we direct capital into the Cardano ecosystem at the end of the day, and building new community. So that's the whole plan, and we have all the concrete details into this plan.
Right. This all makes sense. I love this streamlining process from the very beginning of onboarding a developer and then building everything else around it to the point where a VC could possibly venture into a project that these developers are building. So absolutely love this process, and I really hope this one gets funded so that we can really elevate the profile of Cardano in Hong Kong, but then, as Hinson said, take this as a blueprint and then export it to other countries around Southeast Asia, Europe, Australia, wherever. I'd love to get this blueprint and start some stuff here in Australia as well. We really need it here too. How much is this proposal costing the community treasury in terms of funding?
I remember on the proposal we have written for 200K ADA, but to be frank, in order for us to organize the whole thing, it's certainly costing more than that. But we just want to have some of the tightly funding to cover all of the necessary part to have the minimum wage paid, so that we don't have to work for it in a voluntary basis. Because when we talk to the real execution, there will be a lot of different parties involved. Like maybe just solely on the content creation part, it's not only on me, but maybe it's the whole Gimbal Labs community, the Mesh community. For everyone who would like to contribute to the content, we actually have a system. You could contribute into the content creation, and then you do your part and then get your part of rewards out of the Catalyst fundings. So we have to organize a lot of people working on the content at the very initial part. And then as of the execution, there will be some of the venue fees, and also maybe we have to pay for some of the partnership and marketing in the local side. So there will be a lot of moving parts on each of them. And I would say if we consider the costing in Hong Kong, I'm not that confident that the 200K alone could cover that, but we could certainly make it happen, because from Discord here, we have already 3 parties or 4 parties that we are kind of very keen in this execution, the proposal execution, so that we are kind of getting a lot of kind of diehard fans to get these things done. And so I think there's a very high level for what we are asking for, but we're certainly also looking for funding from outside of the Catalyst as well. Like we talk to other people to asking for sponsorship. If any one of them are actually interested in a proposal, we actually have a generic proposal built, and we've sent over reach out some other private parties as well. So we kind of have a full teams all set here. We're pretty much very keen to take this thing off the ground, and we are seeking for a different sort of help. And Catalyst Fund 11 is one of the sources that we are looking for.
Gotcha. That was going to be my next question. Like, if you don't get the Catalyst funding, will you still go ahead with this? Because it just sounds like such a really good opportunity to pass up. It sounds like it needs to be done to get this kind of traction and exposure.
That's why we expect it to get done, and we do hope that any viewer who's a holder of ADA will vote for the proposal. And I'll just quickly second what Hinson had said just now. It would not even be enough to cover the minimum, but when you have when it's that important in such an important place, and you have people willing to do it, I think it's the least we can ask from the community.
Hinson, so you mentioned that anyone could contribute to any of these learning resources. I'm assuming it's like a GitHub process. They can contribute via GitHub. There's a pull request workflow. How does that work? Just quickly.
Yeah, actually, there is a live one currently right now happening in Gimbal Labs. Is the Mesh PBL. This is a Fund 10 proposal that got passed, and there is a content that we are creating, a project-based learning course on Mesh, and we are currently having the weekly core on Thursdays, and there is a kind of open space in a Notion page. I remember James set it up, and we have a kind of a board, a task board, like there's a module 101, 102, 103, 201, 202, 203, so far and so forth. And then you could be the content writer, reviewer, or the teachers. So you either write the contents, review the contents, or you share a video talking about the contents that you will be covering on the Mesh PBL, and then you write your name on the board. And then in the team, we have the Catalyst administrators. Here we'll do the fund allocation, just according to how many names that you have added to the boxes, how much contribution you have put to the course creation, so that you could earn your part out of it. And everything is public. We have the GitHub repo public. It's on the Mesh GitHub, and it's called Mesh PBL, I remember. And also the Notion page link is public, so everyone can just join in. But if you want to join our weekly core, it should be got some sort of invite. So if any community members got interested in that, just feel free to shoot me a DM, or Jane Goes from Mesh, or James from Gimbal Labs. Just give any one of us a DM, and you could kind of get involved quite actively, as active as you want.
Okay, I might join in on that. It sounds like a good process to learn all this stuff myself, and my team also to learn it, but then also contribute back to the process too. So I think that sounds really good. Brilliant. I'll make sure all the links and references for the proposal are in the show notes down below and in the tweets and socials so that anyone that is interested can find it. If you do search for Gimbal Labs or Genius X, it will come up in the Catalyst voting app as well. I did try it a little bit earlier, so it does come up. So I highly suggest you vote for this one too. Now, is there anything else that we need to know in regards to the proposal or anything else that we've missed?
I think I would just like to again, really invite for the support of the community on this. Is because I think because we've been running Genius X and we've been looking into the venture ecosystem for Cardano for quite some time. And I think recently there is, it's been like a few months, I think, ever since the bear market, but there is like a critical problem that we have observed. I'm not sure how many people actually noticed that. Basically, we see a trend that more new projects in Cardano are basically started by the same founders that launched a previous project successfully. And so I think from user perspective, it's okay, like in the short term, because okay, this guy built something successfully. We love him, and he built another thing. And he must know how to build stuff. So it's probably going to be a usable product. I'm going to use it. But over the long term, it may not really help with the entire ecosystem. And even we talk about the ADA price over the long term, because for an entire ecosystem to grow and remain competitive against the other peers, like we're talking about Solana, Ethereum, and all this other stuff, there are new ones, Aptos, Sway, and Say, and whatever, how centralized they are, but many users don't really care, then they'll just funnel in. How do we remain competitive? Down to the bottom is how do we make ADA price remain competitive? We need to bring more users into Cardano, like even just ADA token holders, right? And how we bring them, we need more projects, we need more products, and we need to expand the closed circle, because I'm seeing our Cardano circle is being a little bit close, like we're limited within like a fixed circle right now. It ends up always the same 400 developers and builders, and keep launching new products instead of newcomers joining in and build something on Cardano. And these 300-400 people will always end up talking to them among themselves and among the same Cardano community on Twitter today. So it becomes a closed circle, and we can keep laughing about other foundations and they don't have no technology and stuff and we're great. But if you don't expand this circle, and it's not going to be sustainable over the long term, we need to bring more developers into Cardano. And these new developers will talk to their developer friends in other markets where Cardano is extremely represented, and to talk about, what, I'm doing Cardano, it's great, and there are a lot of users and they love my products, and why don't you try Cardano? So we need that network effect to go beyond the current boundary. But now I think we have a very fixed boundary today. There's a huge lack of new developers and or new ventures being built by new people that coming into Cardano. And obviously that we don't see a lot of people are actually doing a lot to expand the boundary. So that's why we're in discussion among these three parties here to submit this proposal. I think as one little step of this general effort. Again, if you never thought about it, I would suggest everyone to seriously consider this issue and the long-term sustainability of the Cardano ecosystem. And we basically need, in everywhere in the world to expand over the current circle, bring more developers to build new stuff, and they'll talk about their stuff, that they'll heavily do the marketing and promotion of their stuff in their local market. And then users will end up coming to use the product, and they figure out, okay, I need to be, I need to have ADA tokens. I need to look into Cardano. And that's how you onboard users and you acquire users for an ecosystem over the long term.
Awesome words there, Jason. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me in this episode to talk through everything that you guys are building. I'm so hoping this one gets funded. I might be able to get over to Hong Kong. It's not too far away from me, so I can actually join in on some of these events. It'll be very exciting. And to meet you guys as well in person. So that'll be absolutely amazing.
Thank you, Pete.
Thank you for having us today. Yeah.
Thank you
so
very much.
much.
Do let us know if you come to Hong Kong.
Definitely will.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast. Gotta get it hype. Crypto is what we like, but this is not investment or financial advice. Gotta do your research, cause it's risky. We know it is. This show is educational and it's informative. Crypto's the future, really, it ain't no debating.